Everyone walked past her, but when he stopped to help, a harmless misunderstanding changed both their lives forever. Stay with us, and don't forget to subscribe to Black Inside USA for more emotional cinematic stories that touch the heart. The city was alive with the rhythm of morning. Glass towers reflected the sunlight, buses hissed along the pavement, office workers marched forward with determined strides, and street chatter blended into one continuous soundtrack of daily life. In the middle of it all, Miles Duncan walked with his headphones resting loosely around his neck, enjoying the rare day off from his long night shift job. He had no particular destination, only a sense that breathing fresh air between tall buildings might untangle the thoughts stacked in his mind. Miles was a gentle soul, though few knew it. He spoke kindly, moved calmly, and rarely raised his voice. But life had weathered him, responsibilities, long hours, and the ache of dreams postponed. Still, he carried a quiet strength that made people feel safe, even if they couldn't explain why. As he slowed his steps to admire the sunlight reflecting off a skyscraper, something caught his eye. An elderly woman, walking alone, leaning heavily on a cane. Her steps trembled, her shoulders curled forward, her white hair fluttered in the breeze like a fragile page turning. The crowd swirled around her, fast, busy, unaware. But Miles noticed the strain in her face, the stiffness in her knees, the slight trembling in her hand. Then it happened. Her foot slipped on the edge of a sidewalk crack, and she wobbled dangerously, her cane clattering against the concrete. Without thinking, Miles stepped forward. "Ma'am, are you okay?" he asked, his voice gentle yet steady. She tried to answer, but her breath hitched. He reached out, not grabbing, not forcing, just offering his arm for balance. She hesitated for a moment, then accepted, her hand settling lightly on his sleeve. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice soft as paper. "My legs don't listen to me like they used to." Miles smiled. "Take your time, I'm right here." The morning crowd kept moving. A pair of cyclists sped past. A taxi honked somewhere behind them. But for a moment, it was just the two of them in a quiet pocket of the world. "What's your name?" she asked, steadying herself with his support. "Miles," he replied. "And you?" "Evelyn," she said, taking a careful step. "I was trying to get to the cafe around the corner. My daughter usually accompanies me, but she had to work today." "Well, Evelyn," Miles said warmly, "I'd be happy to walk with you." They began to move slowly down the sidewalk together. Evelyn's cane tapped rhythmically, and Miles adjusted his pace to match hers. He didn't rush her, he didn't guide her like she was helpless. He simply walked beside her, present, patient, respectful. People glanced briefly as they passed, but few paid attention. To them, it was just another moment in a busy city. But to Evelyn, it was everything. "You're very kind," she said after a moment. "My grandmother used to say," Miles replied, "if you have strength today, lend it to someone who needs it." Evelyn smiled, touched by the words. But just as they approached the corner, two bystanders paused, whispering. Their expressions tightened. One lifted a phone, another pointed. They misunderstood what they saw. They drew the wrong conclusion, and in a matter of moments, a simple act of kindness turned into a rushed assumption. A police vehicle rolled up beside them. Lights weren't flashing, sirens weren't blaring, just a sudden presence that startled them both. Two officers stepped out, calm but cautious. "Is everything all right here?" one of them asked. Miles immediately released his supporting arm, stepping back slightly so Evelyn didn't lose balance. "Yes, officer," he said politely. "I was just helping her walk." The officers looked at Evelyn, who took a steadying breath. "He was helping me," she confirmed, her voice soft but clear. "I asked for his assistance." But the officers had more questions, and passers-by began watching. The moment stretched, awkward, unexpected, uncomfortable. Miles kept his voice even. He explained where he'd been walking, how he noticed she needed help, and that he simply didn't want her to fall. Evelyn nodded through every sentence, growing more upset, not at Miles, but at the fact that kindness had needed defending. Finally, the officers understood. Their posture relaxed. They apologized for the interruption and thanked Miles for his patience. But something inside him tightened anyway. Not anger, just a quiet ache that kindness could be mistaken for something else. When the officers left, Evelyn touched his hand lightly. "I'm so sorry you had to go through that," she said. Miles shook his head gently. "You don't need to apologize. I'm just glad you're okay." But Evelyn felt more than gratitude, she felt determination. "Come with me," she said. "Please." They reached the cafe at the corner, a cozy place with warm lights and soft music drifting through the windows. The staff greeted Evelyn by name. She was clearly a cherished regular. Miles helped her settle into a chair, then turned to leave. But Evelyn stopped him. "You're not going anywhere," she said. "You're having lunch with me." Miles chuckled softly. "You don't have to do that." "I know I don't," she replied firmly. "But I want to." So he stayed, and something beautiful unfolded. They talked, really talked. Not small talk, not polite pleasantries, but real conversation. Evelyn told him about her late husband, who had been the love of her life. Miles told her about his grandmother, who raised him with gentle wisdom. They discovered shared humor, mutual respect, and an unexpected connection across generations. People in the cafe noticed, but this time, what they saw warned them. Evelyn lifted her teacup with a slight tremble, and Miles steadied the saucer without making her feel incapable. When he spoke, he listened more than he talked. When she laughed, he joined softly so she didn't feel alone in it. Near the end of their meal, Evelyn looked at him with misty eyes. "You reminded me today," she said, "that the world is still full of good hearts." Miles swallowed gently. "You reminded me that kindness is still worth offering." Then came the twist neither expected. A woman hurried through the cafe door, Evelyn's daughter, breathless and flustered. "Mom, someone said you were seen with." She stopped mid-sentence, seeing Miles, seeing her mother safe, seeing the warmth between them. Evelyn explained everything. The daughter's expression softened, and then she did something that surprised even her. She thanked Miles, not out of obligation, but out of genuine appreciation. The three shared a conversation that stretched into the afternoon. Stories, laughter, understanding. When Miles finally rose to leave, Evelyn grasped his hand. "You have a home here," she said. "Anytime you need rest, comfort, or company." Miles nodded, moved beyond words. As he stepped back into the sunlight, the city felt different, not colder for the misunderstanding, but warmer for the connection that followed. He walked away with a renewed belief that even when kindness is questioned, it remains powerful. Even when misunderstood, it still matters. And even in a busy world, strangers can become unexpected blessings. And somewhere behind him, at a small cafe table, Evelyn watched him go, her heart fuller than it had been in years. Because sometimes the most meaningful moments begin when someone simply stops and cares.